It's almost like, you're talking about fiction. The fact that, there'd be these smoky environments packed full of people.
They were big games, big cash prizes, and so he popularised bingo.
I was there the first night. The hall held, I think, about 350 people. That was like on the licence. He had over 1,000 in the first night. And you couldn't get down to the front of the hall. You had to go round the side and come in the escape thing to come in.
As a black person, a person who's clearly non-white, he could express himself fully. He could be a bingo caller. He could be flamboyant. He gets access to all sorts of glamorous members of the underworld.
My granddad, Philip Brem-Wilson, did get involved with South London gangsters, the Richardsons. My granddad gave statements about things that he'd seen, and this had involved torture, violence by the Richardsons. It also involved payola, him seeing a member of the Richardsons give money to a policeman.
They used Mr. Bingo to commit fraud and launder.
It was quite a shock to me when I found out later in life that he had a poverty-stricken upbringing, and which was due to his father, Thomas Brem-Wilson.
Got pictures of him, haven't we? 6'1", good looking, fit, Thomas. Because he came from a wealthy family, he came first class.
For Thomas to marry a white woman and a Jewish woman, remarkable, under the most extraordinary circumstances, with her children suffering in the playground.
Well, they didn't want him to marry Minan because, it was a different religion. Jews don't marry Gentiles now, so in those days it was...
His contribution to Pentecostalism, or just to the religious culture of these islands, can't be underestimated.
It's really interesting to think that this, the nucleus of that was with this man from the Cape Coast who came to London at the turn of the 20th century.
Managing to get a huge crowd of 400 to 500 around him, stopping the traffic, just by the Bank of England. And he is spreading the word of God, he says. But he ends up, going to Brixton jail.
My mother, who was Nina Brem-Wilson, she was fascinated with her granddad's diaries. She'd always had these. When the bingo failed and she set up on her own, I think she found a space in her life in the 1980s to explore this sort of looming Africa story, and she took herself off to Africa, which was very unusual in those days, armed with her granddad's 1901 land title deeds. She found his land and she discovered gold.
They were all marked on maps. They got gold off the land.
She took them back to Africa to try and find her granddad's lands. And she had this wild, almost like Raiders of the Lost Ark adventure. That inspired the title of this exhibition, African Deeds, because I saw the whole thing move full circle.